In this video, we will discuss about dentin bonding agents. In the previous video of this series, we have discussed about the basic concept of enamel and dentin adhesion. So in this video, we will discuss about generation of dentin bonding agents in detail. So coming on to the first generation of dentin bonding agent, here we have N-phenylglycine glycidyl methacrylate as a primer or adhesion promoter between enamel dentin and the resin material. The mechanism of action is chelation reaction between this material and the calcium of the tooth. The dentin bond strength obtained was quite low, of about 1, ranging from 1 to 3 megapascal. It has got certain disadvantages like the hydrolysis of the glycophosphoric acid dimethacrylate in the oral environment takes place. That poses a clinical challenge, and also the difficulty in bulk polymerization of the cyanoacrylate. The first commercial dentinal adhesive of this generation was the Survedin from SS5. So in this generation we only etch enamel and apply the adhesive. In the second generation, these were developed in late 1970s and early 1980s. These systems performed better than the first generation, although since the dentin was not etched in these systems also, much of the adhesion was only due to the bonding to the smear layer. The mechanism of action here is the polar interaction between the phosphate groups in resin and the calcium ion in the smear layer. They comprises of phosphate ester materials. The bond strength is 4 to 6 megapascal, and here also we etch enamel and apply the adhesive. Coming on to the third generation of bonding agent, they comprises of the conditioner, primer and the bonding agent. And an important change in this generation was the acid etching of the dentin in an effort to modify or partially remove the smear layer. So here we etch enamel, apply primer and apply the bonding agent. Coming on to the fourth generation of the dental adhesive, here we have the concept of total etching, and this system comprises of etching, primer in one bottle and adhesive in another bottle. So here, as we have discussed, we have the concept of total etching. In this, there is simultaneous application of an acid to both enamel and dentin, and also there is complete removal of the smear layer and the concept of the wet bonding. Alright, so this fourth generation paved the way for the further enhancement in these dental adhesives. So what actually takes place in the total etch technique? So here, as we have discussed, we first apply the etchant, that is the phosphoric acid, in a concentration ranging from 30 to 40%. Basically the 37% is used. So what happens in case we apply the etchant at the enamel interface? So in that case, the phosphoric acid removes the smear layer of the enamel surface. Alright, and that creates a porous area with increased surface energy and the wettability, because of which the fluid can now disperse into the enamel microporosity by the capillary action, which in turn form the macro and the micro tags. All of these concepts we have discussed in the previous video. So these changes takes place in the enamel. at the enamel interface. Correct. And what is the result of the acid etching in case of the dentine? So in dentine, there is removal of the smear layer, and that demineralizes the intertubular dentine to 3 to 5 micrometer deep, and that leaves a mesh of collagen fibers exposed. Alright, so the dentinal tubules are widened and the orifice become the funnel shape and the collagen get exposed. So these collagen scaffold are now suspended in water, um, and these collagen should be able to mechanically retain the fluid resin upon the polymerization. Alright, so after acid etching we have these changes taking place in the enamel and dentine. In total etch procedure, we apply etching both to the enamel and to the dentine simultaneously. Alright, so after this step we have the application of the primer or the adhesive. The solvent here should be able to displace all of the water trapped within the collagen network on dentine, so that it allows the monomer to diffuse completely along the surface demineralization depth. Right. So the primer should be rubbed actively on the dentine surface with disposable brushes to improve the wettability and interdiffusion. And after the application, it should be gently air dried. And after the priming step, we can apply the dental adhesive, which fills up the space left between the collagen fibrils. And upon curing and polymerization of these monomers, a hybrid layer and a resin tags are created that provide for the micromechanical retention. So in etch and rinse technique, the application of the acid to dentine results in removal of the smear layer and demineralization of the underlying dentine. Acid demineralizes intertubular and peritubular dentine, open the dentinal tubules as we have discussed, which exposes the collagen fibers, thus thereby increasing the microporosity of the intertubular dentine. And obviously their dentine is demineralized, and eventually it leads to the formation of the hybrid layer by the resin impregnation, followed by their subsequent polymerization. So the hybrid layer was first described by the Nakabashi in 1982. It is basically an interdiffusion zone in which the resin micromechanically interlocks with the dentinal collagen. First of all, the demineralization occurs, and followed by the penetration of the monomer and the subsequent polymerization. This whole zone is called as the hybrid layer, and the thickness varies from 3 to 5 micrometer depending upon the bonding system used. So the clinical procedures within the 4th generation bonding agent is, first we have to etch and the dentine and enamel simultaneously and rinse to remove the etchant and dissolve the tooth material, air dry it, air thinning, but it should be slightly moistened. We have to absorb the excess water only with the cotton palette, and after that we can apply the primer according to the manufacturer's instruction. Strictly we have to follow the manufacturer's instruction, and dry thoroughly to remove the primer solvent for the proper interdiffusion and evaporation of the solvent, so as to increase the mixture entropy. And after that, apply adhesive to enamel and dentine, light cure the adhesive, apply composite resin of the over the adhesive and cure it. Coming on to the 5th generation dental adhesive, this is also the total etch, but here the three 3 bottles is reduced into just one. We have a separate etching step, and the primer and adhesive are present in a single bottle. So basically they have simplified the application steps in the 5th generation of the dental adhesive. So in the step 1, apply the etchant for 50 seconds on the surface, rinse the etchant thoroughly and blot dry the surface, followed by the application of the primer and adhesive on the substrate and light cure. So what are the advantages of this total etching technique? It's a universal use, like they have the ability to bond to composite, porcelain, fiber post, etched or any sandblasted metals. And another advantage is that enamel and dentin are simultaneously etched, and we obtain high dentin and enamel bond strength. But the major disadvantage is the post-operative sensitivity. This etching step may lead to incomplete in-depth infiltration of the dentin hybrid layer that behave as a semi-permeable membrane, and they can progressively degrade the polymer and can compromise the durability of the restoration. Also, the incomplete in-depth infiltration of the dentin layer may lead to the movement of the dentinal fluid, which may further lead to the post-operative sensitivity. And also the over-etching decreases the dentin bond strength. So coming on to the self-etched adhesive, here there is modification of the smear layer. Depending on the pH and the etching potential, they are classified as mild self-etching adhesive and strong self-etching adhesive. So what is the difference of this self-etched adhesive with that of the total etch? So in this technique, we do not apply the separate etchant like we used to apply on the total etching technique. We used to apply the phosphoric acid in a very high concentration ranging from 32 to 40%, but here no such application of any etchant is done, but instead we have an acidic primer which comprises of which is although less acidic as compared to that of the etchant that is used in the 5th generation one. So the after application of the primer, there is after application of the primer, there is penetration of the primer along with the smear plug. So the smear layer is modified but is not completely removed. It only in some cases it is dissolved, and all of the materials like the smear plug and the dissolved organic product of the dentinal tubules, all of these things occlude the dentinal tubule, because of which the post-op sensitivity is less as compared to that of the total etch technique. So here we have after the in this priming step the acidic monomer removes or modify the smear layer, and after this step we apply the adhesive, we cure it, and there is interpenetration of the adhesive into the dentinal tubules, and it subsequently forms the hybrid layer, and over which we can apply the composite resin and cure it. So the self-etch adhesives are classified as two component self-etch adhesive in the 6th generation and a one component self-etch adhesive in the 7th generation. In the 6th generation, further these are classified as a two-step, two component, one step with two component. So coming on to two-step, two component self-etch adhesive. So these are also described as a non-rinsing conditioner or self-priming etchants. These acidic primers include a phosphonated resin molecules that perform two functions simultaneously: etching and priming of enamel in dentin, incorporating smear plaque into the resin tags. Coming on to one step, two component self-etch adhesive. Here we dispense and mix one drop from each bottle, like one first bottle comprises of the conditioner and primer, and another bottle comprises of the adhesive. So both of these components are mixed, and they're supposed to apply on the tooth surface. They're freshly prepared and they're applied onto the tooth surface, and there's no need to rinse, and we can light cure it. In the 7th generation, we have a single component conditioner, primer, adhesive in a single bottle. So dispense it and apply on the tooth surface. No need to rinse, and we can light cure it. So what are the advantages of the self-etch adhesive? Obviously, it has simplified the bonding protocol. No etching step, as the acidic monomer simultaneously etch and prime the dental substrate, and also there is less operative steps. Obviously, because we no need to apply the agent, and no need to also rinsing step is also minimized here, and the presence of the water is not critical in this self-etch adhesive, because these self-etch adhesive are basically the comprises of a water-based water-based solvents along with the acetone and the other solvent. So the this presence of the water is not that much critical as compared to that of the total etch technique, and also they exhibit reduced technique sensitivity. But the major disadvantages of the self-etch adhesive is that they are not kind to enamel. That is, we have a weaker bond strength to enamel. You can say they are extra kind to enamel because they are not able to completely demineralize the enamel. Obviously, because we are using low strength acid as compared to that of the total etch technique. So here we have weaker bond strength to enamel, and also one step self-etch adhesive, we have excessive hydrophilicity that makes the adhesive layer more prone to attract water from the intrinsically moist substrate. So coming on to the selective etching technique, this technique, what we do, we in enamel we apply the phosphoric acid, we etch it, and after that we can apply the acidic monomers of the 6th and 7th generation. Like in enamel we do etching, but in dentin no need of etching, just apply the acidic monomer. To simplify, apply the 37% phosphoric acid to enamel only, and apply 6th and 7th generation bonding agent to both enamel and dentin. And after that we can apply the composite. So here we have the 3 different techniques. So when we are supposed to work only in the enamel, like in case of the veneers, we can go for the total etching technique. But only if we are supposed to work on the dentin only, then we can go for the self-etching adhesive systems. And obviously this selective etching technique is most commonly it is also used. So this is all about all the generations of the dentin bonding agent. I hope this helps. Thank you.